It's two beautiful blue orchids one night.
Hey, I'm Art Chadwick from Chadwick Orchids. Today we're going to be talking about Cattleyas. Now my dad's been growing these flowers since the 1940s. Did they even have electricity back then? Anyway, he loves his Cattleyas. In fact, he thinks all the other orchids are just weeds. So let's look at the orchid that made orchids famous back in the 40s. The most widespread orchid of all time. That would be the Cattleya. Now you'll never see one of these in Home Depot. They're too exotic, too delicate, and they are as fragile as they look. These were used as corsage flowers back in the 40s. And I actually have one here today. There's one like this. Suddenly you are ready for the town. And all orchids have the same general shape of the flower. They have petals, sepals, and then a throat or a lip. And this is usually a different color than the other parts. And it's designed to attract insects in the jungle, either the fragrance or the color or something. Flies and birds and ants, whatnot, will pollinate these flowers and cross-pollinate them. In the jungle, there might be 1 million seeds in the seed pod. The flower folds up, and then the stem swells up, and the seeds crack open and just blow all over the jungle. And very few actually germinate because the conditions have to be just right. But the ones that do germinate, there you go. Wow, something amazing. Monkeys carry them on their back, and it's crazy. Has anyone been to the rainforest to see any of this stuff? It's just something else. They grow side by side with bromeliads and ferns and palms, and there's tarantulas, and scorpions. Costa Rica is the best place to see it. It's eco-friendly. You won't be captured or held hostage. It's tourist friendly, and it's a great place to see orchids without with having the ability to return and tell about it. So I'll pass this little orchid around. Back in the corsage days, the stem was stuck into the tube, and then a little ribbon was put on, fluff, and you're set. They are as fragile as they look. In fact, it's hard to believe they were used as corsages because one slow dance and they'd be crushed. Yeah. Crushed. Petals on the floor. As you can see, the foliage of a Cattleya is nothing very exciting. Thick, fleshy leaves. These parts right here are called pseudobulbs. They store food and water for periods of drought. So this plant could go without water for a month or two, and it wouldn't die. It would use the reserves in the pseudobulbs to keep it going. Now, it wouldn't be happy about not having water for a month or two, but it wouldn't die. Often these plants are shipped around the world with bare root, no pots at all. They're just chopped and thrown into a box, and they may arrive a month later, and they're still going to be okay. So these leaves are very thick. Not many insects like Cattleya leaves because they are so thick. And once a year, just once, after you get a new leaf, then the flowers emerge. And they last for maybe 2 or 3 weeks, 4 weeks at the most for a Cattleya, and that's it. And it's back to leaves again for another year. The old leaves never bloom again. You can see it's bloomed every one of these years. You can see the old stems where they've bloomed previous years. You can count the age of a Cattleya by just counting the pseudobulbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So there's 10 years worth of growth right here in this pot. It's over the edge of the pot, which means it should be repotted. And it's a little ratty looking. Actually, you really only need about 4 or 5 bulbs in a pot. The old bulbs aren't needed anymore, and so we can actually cut the plant, take the old bulbs, and that's called a back bulb, and they would sprout and it would bloom in a couple of years. The front bulb is what makes the future of the plant. So after these flowers finish, You just cut the sheath that the flowers come out of, and then all you have are leaves again. It's not the most attractive plant you've ever seen, but it's so reliable in its blooming time that you can write the month that the orchid blooms right on the pot. Every July, this exact Cattleya will bloom. But another Cattleya might bloom in August, another might bloom in September. You can have one every month. And true Cattleya collectors have at least 12 plants, so they have one every month. And they're very predictable. They bloom just like clockwork. You know when they're in bloom and what time of year it is. But you don't know when it blooms until the very first time. And then that's its season. This is actually a hybrid my father made. This is Cattleya Powhatan. He made this hybrid in 1981. Here it is, 2011, 30 years later. Here it is, blooming. Same plant. And many of these plants, he's been growing since 1943. He still has. They just grow and get bigger, and you chop them into pieces, trade them with friends. It's amazing. People get very attached to their orchids because they become part of the family. And just purely by coincidence, I have another plant from that same seed pod that's in bloom right now. These are sisters. And yet look at the colors, the difference. If you look at the shape of the flower and the veining of the lip, the yellow veining and the purple throat, they're obviously related. The only difference is that these petals and sepals are white and those are purple. Just like children, you got a redhead. Where'd that happen? So these are actually from the same seed. One bloomed white, one bloomed purple. Amazing, right? And they bloom at exactly the same time. And this is one of my father's breakthrough hybrids. He put two plants together that normally wouldn't come together. And it was sort of considered a risky cross or a low percentage hybrid where you might get a lot of junk. But instead he got some amazing stuff. So he's written articles about it. We call it Cattleya Powhatan after our city. These really are fragrant. I should pass this around because it is so exciting.
Was he going for a particular color, or did he just not know?
And he didn't know. It was unproven.
So you can try to combine, but you really don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
That's neat.
I mean, if you put two purples together, you'll probably get a purple's children. But in this case, you put a purple with a yellow, and whoa! Surprise, surprise! Right? One of our sidelines.
Do they always, did this particular type of orchid always have a scent to it?
Yes.
Or is it
Cattleyas
always
in
sweet?
particular
Yes, it is.
are known for their fragrance.
Yeah.
So people often have Phalaenopsis in their collection or some of the other types, but then as their hobby matures, they start to gravitate towards the Cattleyas because even though they're shorter lived, they have these outrageous qualities that are so enticing. We're also fortunate to have one of our celebrity orchids in bloom. As you can see from the pictures here, one of our sidelines is naming orchids after high-profile women and presenting them to them. And we're fortunate to have done the last 4 First Ladies, from Barbara Bush through the current First Lady. And this one is Laura Bush. And what makes this unique is the splash petals that you wouldn't expect to see in an orchid. It's one of those 1 in a million kind of hybrids. And so when something like that blooms, we want to give it to someone special. So 4 First Ladies in a row. We're excited about that. Let me tell you, there's nothing quite like getting a call from the White House. The White House is online too. Oh, excuse me, I should get that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And actually, naming orchids after First Ladies is a tradition that goes back to the 40s, starting with Bess Truman, all the way up. And then it sort of died out in the 70s, 80s, and we picked it back up. And it's kind of fun. It puts orchids on the front pages, and particularly the Cattleyas. which are my father's thing. He wrote a book about cattleyas, which is a best-selling book in the orchid world, just about cattleyas, the tradition of how they became where they are, the jungle varieties and the people that died trying to find them, and how the rarest things. He spent his lifetime's work essentially putting this book together. Excellent bedtime material, you know, if you're so inclined. This is one of our high-profile First Lady Cattleyas, and these are expensive. You know, $250 for one of these.
Yes.
So the large flowered Cattleyas only last a month or so. So people have bred what's called miniature Cattleyas, which are a little bit smaller than the regular plants, but they have all the shape and the charm. Here's another miniature Cattleya. And if you see by looking at the leaves, the same leaves, same shape, flowers, everything's the same, just miniaturized. And these might last longer, maybe a month. They might bloom twice a year. A little easier to grow as far as blooming. They're not so predictable in the blooming times, but you get a little more action. So for people who are just easing into Cattleyas, they might start with the miniature Cattleyas before they work their way up to the standards. Many growers grow their orchids in plastic pots because they're shipped. They're light, they don't break, they're inexpensive. But ultimately, we end up putting them in clay. When they found their home, they're going to be there a while. We think they're a little happier in clay. They're bottom heavy, and the roots seem to just expand in the clay. The plastic can hold water, it can become a little soggy, the roots can rot off. Clay's a little more durable, and it's actually a material you might actually find in the rainforest as opposed to plastic. Are there any questions about the Cattleya family? The flower that started the whole orchid craze back in the 40s.
How often do you water?
How often do you water them?
Water those?
A couple times a week.
A couple times a week?
Yes. And when you water, you take an orchid to the sink, drench it, and then put it back. It never sits in water, drains well, and that's something you might find in the rainforest where the shower comes through and soaks everything and it's dry again. Cattleyas are the national flower of Costa Rica, as well as Brazil, Venezuela, Colombia, and one other. And so South America is all about Cattleyas because they just grow in the trees. Like we have dogwoods here. Oh, those old dogwoods. They have just Cattleyas. Cattleyas. Are you ready to move on to the next orchid type?